Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Brajjana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajjana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayam Vishnupad, Paramahamsa, Parivrajacharya, Ashto Tirashutashi, Shrimad Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Grantaraj Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Okay, so if everybody could please repeat after me. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Alright, so we are continuing reading of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, the cleansing in the Gundija temple, and we're on text 136. Alright, so Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also cleansed in Singha temple inside and outside. Finally, he rested a few minutes and then began dancing. All around Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all the devotees performed congregational chanting. The Lord, just like a maddened lion, danced in the middle. As usual, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu danced, there was perspiration, trembling, fading, tears, jubilation, and roaring. Indeed, the tears from his eyes washed his body and those before him. In this way, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu washed the bodies of all the devotees with the tears from his eyes. The tears poured like the rains in the month of Shravan. The sky was filled with the great and loud chanting of Sankirtan, and the earth shook from the jumping and dancing of Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya always liked the loud chanting of Srup Damodar. Therefore, when Srup Damodar sang, Lord Chaitanya danced and jumped high in jubilation. The Lord thus chanted and danced for some time. Finally understanding the circumstances, he stopped. Lord Chaitanya then ordered Sri Gopal, the son of Advaitacharya, to dance. While dancing in ecstatic love, Sri Gopal fainted and fell to the ground, unconscious. When Sri Gopal fainted, Advaitacharya hastily took him upon his lap. Seeing that he was not breathing, he became very much agitated. Advaitacharya and others began to chant the holy name of Lord Nrsimha and sprinkle water. The roaring of the chant was so great that it seemed to shake the entire universe. When the boy did not regain consciousness after some time, Advaitacharya and the other devotees began to cry. Lord Chaitanya placed his hand on the chest of Sri Gopal and said loudly, "Gopal, stand up." As soon as Gopal heard the voice of Lord Chaitanya, he immediately came to his senses. All the devotees then began to dance, chanting the holy name of Hari. This incident has been described in detail by Vrindavan Das Thakur, therefore I have described it only in brief. After taking rest, Lord Chaitanya and all the devotees departed to take their baths. After bathing, the Lord stood on the bank of the lake and put on dry garments. After offering obeisances to the Lord Nrsingadev, whose temple was nearby, the Lord entered a garden. In the garden, so they chanted and danced, and then they had some rest, and then they had a bath in the local pond or river, and then now they're going to a garden. So, in the garden, Lord Chaitanya sat down with other devotees. Vaninath Roy then came and brought all kinds of Mahaprasadam. Now they're having prasadam, so it's chanting, dancing, taking a little rest, get up, bathe a little bit, and they're having some Mahaprasadam. It's good. Kashi Mishra and Tulsi, the superintendent of the temple, brought as much prasadam as 500 men could eat. Seeing the large quantity of prasadam, which consisted of rice, cake, sweet rice, and a variety of vegetables, Lord Chaitanya was very satisfied. Among the devotees present with Lord Chaitanya were Paramananda Puri, Brahmananda Bharati, Advaita Acharya, and Nityananda Prabhu. Acharya Ratna, Acharya Nidhi, Srivas Thakur, Gadadhar Pandit, Shankar, Nanda Acharya, Raghava Pandit, and Virkeshwara were also present. Receiving the permission of the Lord, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya sat down. Lord Chaitanya and all his devotees sat on raised wooden seats. In this way, all the devotees sat down to take their lunch in consecutive lines, one beside the other. Lord Chaitanya was repeatedly calling, "Haridas, Haridas," and at that time Haridas, standing at a distance, spoke as follows. Haridas Thakur said, "Let Lord Chaitanya take his lunch with the devotees. Since I am abominable, I cannot sit down among you." So Haridas Thakur was very humble, and he was thinking, I let all the devotees take prasadam with Lord Chaitanya. I'm abominable. I shouldn't take with all of them. Govinda will give me prasadam later outside the door. Understanding his mind, Lord Chaitanya did not call him again. So interesting enough is Lord Chaitanya didn't say, "Oh, just come on and, come have prasadam." He just said, "Okay, fine," and he let him. Srup Damodar, Goswami, Jagadananda, Damodar Pandit, Kashishvara, Gopinath, Vaninath, and Shankar distributed prasadam, and the devotees chanted the holy names at intervals. So when they're taking prasadam at intervals, they would chant. Lord Krishna had previously taken his lunch in the forest, and that very pastime was remembered by Lord Chaitanya. Just by remembering the pastimes of Lord Krishna, Lord Chaitanya was agitated by ecstatic love. But considering the time and the circumstance, he remained somewhat patient. Lord Chaitanya said, You can give me the ordinary vegetable known as lapra vyajana, and you may deliver to all the devotees better preparations like cake, sweet rice, and amrita gutika. Alright, so Prabhupada explains in the purport. Lapra vyajana is a combination of several green vegetables all mixed together. It is often mixed with rice and delivered to poor men. Amrita Gutika is a preparation. So Lord Chaitanya was saying, just give the devotees a nice preparations, cakes and sweet rice and Amrita Gutika. Amrita Gutika is a preparation of thick puri mixed with condensed milk. It is also known as Amrita Rasavali. So the next text. Since Lord Chaitanya is omniscient, he knew what types of preparations each person liked. He therefore had Srup Damodar deliver these preparations to each devotee to fulfill his satisfaction, to his full satisfaction. Jagadananda went to the Sri Prasadam, and suddenly he placed all the first-class preparations in the plate of Lord Chaitanya. When such nice prasadam was put on the plate of Lord Chaitanya, the Lord was outwardly very angry. Nonetheless, when the preparations were placed on his plate, sometimes by tricks and sometimes by force, the Lord was satisfied. When the food was thus delivered, Lord Chaitanya looked at it for some time. Being afraid of Jagadananda, he finally ate something. The Lord knew that if he did not eat the food offered by Jagadananda, Jagadananda would certainly fast. Being afraid of this, Lord Chaitanya ate some of the prasadam he offered. So, Jagadananda, he had a very interesting relationship with Lord Chaitanya, and said that one time Jagadananda, he got Lord Chaitanya this very fancy, nice, good quality oil for, like, to rub on his body, like a massage. And Lord Chaitanya said, "I'm a sannyasi. Like, I can't accept this because I'm supposed to be renounced. I'm supposed to be renunciate. I can't accept this. This is too opulent for me." So then Lord Chaitanya said you could give it to Lord Jagannath at the temple. So Jagadananda Pandit, he got very upset about this. So he actually took the pots that he got and he just threw them on the ground in anger. And I don't know why it's doing that. God. And so he threw the pots on the ground and broke them in anger, the pots of oil. And then he just left. So then devotees didn't see him for a few days, Jagadananda Pandit. And Jagadananda Pandit, what he was doing, he was just fasting. He was just like at his house or in his room, whatever, just fasting. He wasn't eating. Because he was so mad, that Lord Chaitanya didn't accept his offering. So Lord Chaitanya heard about this, and then he called for Jagadananda Pandit, and he said, "Oh, please forgive me this and that." And he said, "If you want, you could cook for me, and I'll eat whatever you cook." So then Jagadananda Pandit, he cooked all these preparations and offered them to Lord Chaitanya, and Jagadananda Pandit was very satisfied. So there's a picture that devotees painted, and it's a painting of Jagadananda Pandit, and he's I don't know if it's in this particular. It might not be in this. Yeah, I don't think it's in this particular book. But there's a picture of Jagadananda Pandit very angry. He's throwing the pots of oil, and Lord Chaitanya is like there. So it's kind of funny. So right here it says that Lord Chaitanya, he is sitting down for all his prasadam, and he said, "Oh, just bring me the simple preparations, for the poor men, the green vegetables mixed with rice or whatever. That's all I need." And then they're putting all these fancy preparations, or somewhat more opulent preparations in front of him. And it said, when the food was thus delivered, Lord Chaitanya looked at it for some time. So he's sitting there looking at it. Being afraid of Jagadananda, he finally ate something. So if he didn't eat it, Jagadananda would get angry. His devotee would get angry at him, with him. The Lord knew that if he did not eat the food offered by Jagadananda, Jagadananda would certainly fast. Being afraid of this, Lord Chaitanya ate some of the prasadam he offered. Swarup Damodar then brought some excellent sweetmeats and, standing before the Lord, offered them to him. Swarup Damodar then said, "Just take a little of this Mahaprasadam and see how it is that Jagannath has accepted it." Upon saying this, Swarup Damodar Goswami placed some food before the Lord, and the Lord, out of affection, ate it. Swarup Damodar and Jagannananda again and again offered the Lord some food. Thus they behaved affectionately with the Lord. This was very, very uncommon. The Lord made Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya sit on his left side, and when Sarvabhauma saw the behavior of Swarup Damodar and Jagannananda, he smiled. Lord Chaitanya also wanted to offer Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya first-class food. Therefore, out of affection, he had the servers put first-class food on his plate again and again. Gopinath Acharya also brought the first-class food and offered it to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya while speaking sweet words. After serving Bhattacharya with first-class prasad, Gopinath Acharya said, "Just consider what the Bhattacharya's previous mundane behavior was. Just consider how at present he is enjoying transcendental bliss." So Gopinath Acharya, he's commenting about Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, and he's saying that just see how Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is behaving, and he gave up his mundane behavior, and he's enjoying transcendental bliss. Because what happened is that Lord Chaitanya, when he was on his way to Puri, he was walking to Puri, and then he went into the temple of Lord Jagannath, and then he went into ecstasy, and he fainted on the ground. So he fainted on the ground, and then the guards, they were about to throw him out. But then the Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya came. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he put a little cotton swab by his nose to see if he was breathing. So he was, Lord Chaitanya. So then he brought him to his house. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya brought him to his house nearby the temple. And he was taking care of him. So then Lord Chaitanya came out of his trance, and then Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, who was a householder, but very learned, but he was also a Mayavadi, which means he was an impersonalist, attached to the impersonal feature of Krishna. And Lord Chaitanya was a personalist, obviously, attached to the personal feature of Krishna. So, but Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he wanted to help Lord Chaitanya because Lord Chaitanya was such a young man. He was 24 years old when he accepted sannyas, which means no more material life, no more, So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was frightened that this man is so young, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He's so young and handsome that surely if I don't teach him, if I don't try to educate him further in the philosophy, Vedanta philosophy, surely he will fall down. Means he'll give up his sannyas and fall into sense gratification. So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was preaching to Lord Chaitanya for many days, and Lord Chaitanya wasn't saying anything. He was just quiet. And then Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he said, "Oh, you're not saying anything. Are you understanding?" And Lord Chaitanya said, "Yes, I understand. Excuse me. I understand, but you are completely obscuring the true meaning of what it's actually trying to say, the Vedas." And then Lord Chaitanya started to explain spiritual knowledge. So over time, what happened is Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he gave up his impersonalism and became a devotee, and which was a big thing because he was actually a big leader there in Puri. So you can imagine all of his followers also were transformed by that. So here, Gopinath Acharya is sitting with Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, and Gopinath Acharya is saying, "Just see how Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya just consider what his mundane behavior was before, how he was an impersonalist. And now just consider how at present he is enjoying transcendental bliss. So he's saying, in other words, he became a devotee. So just see how he's enjoying bliss. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya replied to Gopinath Acharya, I was simply a less intelligent logician, but by your grace I have received this opulence of perfection. But for Lord Chaitanya, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya continued, who is so merciful? He has converted a crow into a Garuda. Who could be so merciful? In the association of jackals known as logicians, I simply continued to bark a resounding, however you say this word, bew. Now from the same mouth I am chanting the holy names of Krishna and Hari. So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is saying how merciful Lord Chaitanya is for saving him from being a crow into a very, nice devotee bird, Garuda, and how he was a dog barking or jackal barking, and now he's chanting the holy names of Krishna. Whereas I was once associated with the disciple of logic, all non-devotees, I am now merged in the waves of the nectarian ocean of the association of devotees. Lord Chaitanya said to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, from your previous birth you have been in Krishna consciousness. Thus you love Krishna so much that simply by your association we are all developing Krishna consciousness. Thus there is no one within these three worlds save for Lord Chaitanya, who is always so willing to increase the glories of the devotees and give them satisfaction. Lord Chaitanya then took all the remnants of food offered to Jagannath, such as cakes and sweet rice, and distributed them to all the devotees, calling them individually. Advaita Acharya and Nityananda Prabhu sat side by side, and when prasadam was being distributed, they engaged in a type of mock fighting. First Advaita Acharya said, I am sitting in line with an unknown mendicant, and because I am eating with him, I do not know what kind of destination is awaiting me. So Advaita Acharya is joking with Nityananda Prabhu. I like this. Lord Chaitanya is in the renounced order of life, consequently does not recognize discrepancies. As a matter of fact, the sannyasi is not affected by eating food from anywhere and everywhere. Interesting. According to the Shastras, there is no discrepancy in a sannyasi's eating at another's house. But for a householder Brahmin, this kind of eating is faulty. It is not proper for householders to dine with those whose previous birth, family, character, and behavior are unknown. Nityananda Prabhu immediately refuted Advaita Acharya, saying, you are a teacher of impersonal monism, and monistic conclusion is a great hindrance to progressive, pure devotional service. So Nityananda is saying, okay, you're saying I'm from an unknown background, but I'm saying you're a teacher of impersonalism. But they're both, obviously, devotees. One who participates in your impersonalist monistic philosophy does not accept anything but the one Brahman, an impersonal aspect of Krishna. Nityananda Prabhu continued, you are such a monist, and now I am eating beside you. I do not know how my mind will be affected in this way. So this is a purport here. Sangat Sanjayata Kama, Bhagavad Gita 262. One develops his consciousness according to society and association. As Sri Nityananda Prabhu admits, a devotee should be very careful when associating with those who are not devotees. When asked by a householder devotee what the behavior of a devotee should be, Lord Chaitanya immediately replied, Asat Sanga Tyag, A Vaishnav Achar, Stri Sangi Eka Asadhu Krishna Bhakta Ar. A Vaishnav, a devotee, should simply discard intimate association with non-devotees. In his Upadeshamrita, Rupa Goswami has described the symptoms of intimate relationships in this way. Tadati pratigrinnati guyam aikati prichati bhunkte bhojayate chaiva shadvidham pratilakshanam. The words bhunkte bhojayate indicate that one should eat with devotees. One should carefully avoid eating food offered by non-devotees. Indeed, a devotee should be very strict in not accepting food from a non-devotee, especially food prepared in restaurants or hotels. or on airplanes. Sri Nityananda Prabhu's reference in this connection is meant to emphasize that one should avoid eating with Mayavadis and covert Mayavadis like the Sahajiya Vaishnavas, who are materially affected. So I really didn't say I didn't say the prayers yet. Om Jnana Tipadandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshuranaditamena Tasmaya Shri Gurave Namaha. So Lord Nityananda Prabhu, he admits a devotee should be very careful when associating with those who are not devotees. And why is that? Because the non-devotees, they're absorbed in materialism, they're absorbed in sinful activity, and they're absorbed in things that are not related to Krishna. Of course, everything's related to Krishna, but they don't see it like that. So in other words, their consciousness is very, they're in Maya, they're in illusion. So the idea is to be very careful if and when we have to associate with such personalities. Prabhupada said that those of us who have joined the Hare Krishna movement, the whole point is to understand Krishna and to love Krishna. And Prabhupada says that in order to do that, we have to follow certain principles within our life. And specifically says tapasya. So tapasya means austerity. And Prabhupada, he wanted to train a class of people, of devotees, as Brahmins. Brahmins means someone situated in the mode of goodness, primarily situated in the mode of goodness. And there's different aspects of Brahminical life. So cleanliness, brahmacharya, which is celibacy, cleanliness, and so many different other things that we do, which are austerities, tolerance and humility and this and that, so many different principles we follow. And Prabhupada said that by this tapasya, we get a new brain. And what does that mean? It means with a mundane brain, or with mundane, whatever you want to say, consciousness or senses, we cannot understand Krishna. It is impossible. So all the karmis, or the vikarmis, those engaged in sinful activity, the Mayavadis, the materialists, which nowadays there aren't any real Mayavadis for the most part, means people who are super educated in Vedic literature from an impersonalist point of view. There are all these neo-Mayavadis, which means these people who say that the Supreme Godhead is light, and I'm going to merge into that Supreme Godhead, that light. And there's so many societies all over Southern California, all over the world, these Mayavadi societies, which ultimately all these Mayavadis, these neo-Mayavadis, they just fall into sense gratification, means gross sense gratification. So in other words, they're just like an ordinary materialist, which means they're just it's just gross sense gratification and money and just whatever, just that type of lifestyle. And these Mayavadis are actually destroying the world. Of course, sometimes devotees say that, and it's like, it sounds like some conspiracy. Yeah, these Mayavadis, they're destroying the world, But Prabhupada said that, and it's true that people, they have spiritual inclinations, and then there's all these Mayavadi groups, these impersonalist groups, who teach them a bunch of nonsense. Practically speaking, it's just nonsense. And they mix all these different paths together, and we're all God, and everything's good, like that. So Lord Chaitanya says we should be very careful when associating with those people. Why? Because it's contaminated. Actually, it says that even just seeing such people, it actually says that you should take a bath. It's contaminated. There's like you get affected. So we cannot underestimate the power of association. We cannot underestimate the power of Maya, and the power of non-devotee association means the danger it could do to us. And what is the main danger? The main danger is that definitely by devotee association we forget Krishna. And then what? That means we forget ourselves. That means we forget the goal of life. That means that, practically speaking, if one lets themselves go, they become no better than an animal. Just like if one, I heard that there was some guy, he goes around Pacific Beach and he slashes everybody's tires. It's a new event, he's been doing that recently, slashing everybody's tires, especially nice cars. There are BMWs and Teslas and Cadillacs and whatever else. Mercedes. He's been slashing the expensive cars, the tires. So, and why is that? Because he's envious. I mean, the guy doesn't have a car himself. He's envious. He's suffering. He's frustrated. So let me slash some tires. Have some fun. So that would be like a definition of like an animal. He just can't control himself. Just slash. It's like you're attacking for no reason. That's what animals do. Like Santosh was taking a walk one day and some dog just ran up to him and latched onto his arm, with his mouth, right? His teeth latched right onto his arm. So it's an animal. He just slash. Or what to speak of people's sexual inclination nowadays. I mean, there's no shame. It's just shameless. They don't care, It's actually animalistic. It's like an animal. There's no shame, just. So that's what non-devotee association does. The power of it is that it makes one forget Krishna, makes one forget oneself, makes one forget the goal of life, and in really not even very uncommon circumstances. In very common circumstances, one just becomes very animalistic. So therefore, we don't associate with them. Means we don't intimately associate with non-devotees. And Prabhupada gives the word intimately. One of these intimate things, dadati pratigranati guyamaikati prichati, offering gifts, receiving gifts, revealing one's mind. We don't go to Mayavadi. We don't look at Mayavadi books for advice. We don't look at books by all these big Mayavadis, whoever they may be. There's so many in the world nowadays. We don't look at their books for advice. We don't listen to their lectures for advice. We don't go to them for anything. Means for help. We go to devotees. We go to Rupa Goswami. We go to Prabhupada. We go to other devotees. In this way, we're actually protecting our devotional life. And by being too free, we're actually not protecting our devotional life. We're damaging it. And Prabhupada says here about eating, he says that we shouldn't eat things by non-devotees. Especially, Prabhupada says, food prepared in restaurants or hotels or in airplanes. So it is a bit of an austerity because, devotees travel the world, this and that. And sometimes they find themselves in situations which are difficult, to get some prasadam. But nonetheless, Prabhupada's saying, devotees don't eat at restaurants, hotels, or in airplanes. So there are ways to coordinate one's life or to move around in such a way where one could do this, and especially if one is located in one particular place. Means they're not traveling much. Someone say, in other words, they live in one town. It's like, all right, well, there's no need to go, eat at a restaurant or a hotel and all this stuff. Why? Because it messes with our consciousness. It disturbs our consciousness. Why? Because I mean, these people, we don't even know who they are. Like eating something cooked from the Sandbox, that place right next door to us. I mean, we don't know who they are. We don't know what they do. We don't know what they're thinking. You know, yeah, we see them back there. We don't know what they're talking about. We don't. It's just so the consciousness. Hey, good morning, harekrishna. The consciousness of the cook goes into the food. So if we eat something from these guys, for example, next door, like, what is their consciousness? I don't really trust their consciousness as being very high spiritual consciousness. Just like people say, oh, well, right, everybody's grandmother. Not everybody's grandmother, but some. Oh, her grandmother's cookies, right? Has so much, tastes so good. They say, oh, because all the love and affection that went into that preparation, right? So there is something to say about all that, because you could tell when somebody really tries, and you could see their consciousness within the prasadam or food. So yes, we're careful about all this. And people who aren't, then yeah, I mean, they maybe due to circumstance, there are some exceptions to the rule, but in general, people who aren't strict about all these things, then it all adds up. You read a few Mayavadi books, you eat at a few restaurants, you do this, you do that, you do something, and then it just adds up. Adds up. And then the power of Maya within our lives actually conquers us rather than the power of Krishna. So that's the whole point. By association of Krishna, which means prasadam, cooked by devotees and all that, and devotee books, and all these different things, these different ways we could associate with Krishna. If we subject our consciousness to that, then that becomes the strong, you could say, the thing in our life that overcomes us, that overpowers us, rather than Maya's influence. So that's what we want. We want that. That's what we should want. Whether we want it or not, but maybe. All right, so there's just a few more verses, so I'll just end the chapter here. All right, so this is Nityananda and Advaita Prabhu talking still. Thus they both went on talking and praising one another, although their praise appeared negative, for it appears as if they exchanged ill names. Thereafter calling, so this is Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami speaking or writing. Thereafter, calling all the devotees, Mahaprabhu distributed Mahaprasadam as if sprinkling nectar. At that time, the mock fight between Advaitacharya and Nityananda Prabhu became more and more delicious. When my spiritual master was initiating some devotees recently in Houston, he was telling the devotees before the initiation, you have to not eat at restaurants, just prasadam, because it does have an effect. All this stuff, how the world's set up, it is difficult, but whatever, we have to try. After taking their lunch, all the Vaishnavas stood up and chanted the holy name of Hari, and the resounding noise filled all the upper and lower planetary systems. After this, Lord Chaitanya offered flower garlands and sandalwood pulp to all his devotees personally present. The 7 persons headed by Swarup Damodar, who were engaged in distributing prasad to others, then took their meals within the room. Govinda saved some remnants of food left by Lord Chaitanya and kept them carefully. Later, one portion of these remnants was delivered to Haridas Thakur. The remnants of food left by Lord Chaitanya were later distributed among devotees who begged for them. And finally, Govinda personally took the last remnants. The fully independent Supreme Person performs various types of pastimes. The pastime of washing and cleansing the Gaudiya temples, but one of them. The next day marked the performance of the festival Netrotsava, the great festival of the life and soul of the devotees. So does anybody know what Netrotsava is? All right, well, we can hear about it right now. Short purport. After the bathing ceremony of Lord Jagannath, during the fortnight before the Rath Yatra ceremony, the body of Lord Jagannath, having been washed, needs repainting. This is known as Angaraga. The Nitrotsava festival performed gorgeously in the early morning of the Navayovana day constitute the life and soul of the devotees. So it's the bathe and then needs repainting. So also this time that we're experiencing now is a time where Jagannath is traditionally repainted, if needed. Everyone was unhappy for a fortnight because they could not see the deity of Lord Jagannath. Upon seeing the Lord at the festival, the devotees were very happy. On this occasion, greatly happy, Lord Chaitanya took all the devotees with him and visited the Lord in the temple. When Lord Chaitanya went to visit the temple, Kashishvara walked in front, checking the crowds of people, and Govinda walked in the rear, bringing the sannyasi's pitcher filled with water. Lord Chaitanya went toward the temple. Paramanandapur and Brahmananda Bharati walked in front of him, and at his two sides walked Srup Damodar and Vaitacharya. With great eagerness, all the devotees followed them into the temple of Lord Jagannath. Out of great eagerness to see the Lord, they all neglected the regulative principles, and, just to see the Lord's face, went to the place where the food was offered. So, and Prabhupada explains, there's many principles, and for example, wasn't allowed to enter the room where the food is offered to the deity. But in this case, they're very eager because not having seen the Lord for 15 days. All the people overruled their principles and entered the room. Lord Chaitanya was very thirsty to see the Lord, and his eyes became like two bumblebees drinking the honey from the lotus-like eyes of Lord Jagannath, who is Krishna himself. The eyes of Lord Jagannath conquered the beauty of blossoming lotus flowers, and his neck was as illustrious as a mirror made of sapphires. The chin of the Lord tinged with buff color. You know what buff color is? I don't either. Buff color. Interesting. It says suranga, which means buff color. Conquered the beauty of banduli flower. This increased the beauty of his mild smiling, which was like lustrous waves of nectar. This is about Jagannath, all about Jagannath. The luster of his beautiful face increased at every moment, and the eyes of hundreds and thousands of devotees drank its honey like bumblebees. As their eyes began to drink the nectarian honey of his lotus face, their thirst increased. Thus their eyes did not leave him. And then there's some shlokas quoted. It says, "The beauty of the son of Maharaj Nanda is incomparable." This is in the purport from Laghu Bhagavatamrita, Rupa Goswami. Nothing is higher than his beauty, and nothing can equal it. His beauty is like waves in an ocean of nectar. This beauty is attractive both from moving and non-moving objects. I shall relate the supreme meditation upon Lord Sri Krishna, the son of Nanda Maharaj. This is another one. The tips of his toes, of his lotus feet, reflect the beauty of the bodies of unlimited millions of cupids, and his bodily luster has never been seen or heard anywhere. So it's saying just the tips of his toes reflect the beauty of the bodies of unlimited millions of cupids. So this, what Prabhupada would say, that's how one overcomes Cupid within this world, which everybody is bound by, which means, that sexual attraction, Cupid, one overcomes by being attracted by Krishna. In other words, one overcomes lust by being Krishna conscious. Thus Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his devotees enjoyed transcendental bliss upon seeing the face of Jagannath. This continued to midday. As usual, there were transcendental blissful symptoms in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's body. He perspired and trembled, and a constant flow of tears fell from his eyes. Right, just a few more verses. But the Lord checked these tears so they would not disturb his seeing the face of the Lord. Their looking at the face of Lord Jagannath was interrupted only when he was offered food. Afterwards they would again look upon his face. When the food was being offered to the Lord Chaitanya performed his kirtan. Feeling such great pleasure upon seeing the face of Jagannath, Lord Chaitanya forgot everything. The devotees, however, took him to his lunch at noontime. Knowing that the car festival would take place in the morning, Rath Yatra, all the servants of Lord Jagannath were doubling their offerings of food. I have briefly described the pastimes of the Lord in washing and cleansing the Gundicha temple. By seeing or hearing these pastimes, even a sinful man can awaken their Krishna consciousness. Praying at the lotus feet of Sri Rupa and Sri Raghunath, always design their mercy. I, Krishna Das, narrate Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, following in their footsteps. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of Chaitanya Charitamrita, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter 12, describing the washing and cleansing of the Gundicha temple. Alright, so we finished that chapter. So next chapter is the ecstatic dancing of the Lord at Rath Yatra. Yeah, maybe, what's today? Wednesday, so maybe Monday, next Wednesday. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Yes, Glenn.
Can you explain why Lord Jagannath's eyelids?
You weren't in class the other day, huh? I think I read that. Remember that? I think you were in class, weren't you? Remember I read from Gaur Govinda Swami's book, that pastime where the queens were wanting to know about Vrindavan, about Radharani, about the gopis, about the cowherd boys, the queens of Dwarka, and then Mother Rohini told them about that. Oh, you weren't, huh? Oh, really? So yeah, the queens were there, and they wanted to know about Vrindavan, and then Rohini started telling them, Balaram's mother, and then Jagannath and Balaram and Subhadra were there at the door, and then they went into ecstasy upon hearing this, and their eyes got really big, and their arms went into their bodies, their limbs, their legs and arms went into their bodies, and a big smile on their face. So this is Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra. And then Narada Muni came and he said, "Oh, my dear Lord, I like to see this form of yours worshipped, throughout the world." And then therefore you have in Puri the temple, Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra. So it's Krishna, Baladev, and Subhadra in their form of ecstasy, remembering Vrindavan. They're like feeling separation from Vrindavan. So that's their form. And the idea is that Rath Yatra is that you're bringing them from, I heard Dwarka or Kurukshetra, you're bringing them from there, you're bringing them back to Vrindavan. So that's what the Rath Yatra is, procession. Because in Puri, they're bringing them from the temple in Puri, the main temple, to Gundicha temple, which is Vrindavan, which we just read about, the cleansing of Gundicha temple. So they're getting the temple ready for Krishna to come to the temple. And then Prabhupada, they related, our acharyas say that we also have to get our heart ready. It's like a Gundicha temple. We have to cleanse our heart, and then we can invite Krishna to sit within our heart, not in a nice clean place. So, but I could send you that. It's a little more elaborate. I could send you it. All right. Grant Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai.